Mike Owen with Inside Fighting, joined today by the main man, Nathan Fletcher, who returns to action August 2nd, facing Rinya Nakamura, easy for me to say, in Las Vegas. Nate, how are things, man? Good to see you.
Yeah, I'm very good, brother. Nice to see you too.
Yeah. How are things? Excited to get back to Vegas?
I can't wait, yeah. It was a similar time, this time last year, that I went out and fought in Vegas to get my UFC contract, so kind of feels like the summer's repeating itself again, and obviously we got a good result out there last year, so I'm looking to replicate that and have a repeat of last year, but I can't wait. I'm excited to be back in Vegas.
I know that it's a business trip, but you don't strike me as the type who would enjoy what Vegas has to offer in terms of some of the nightlife. Is it?
Yeah.
Is it the type of place you get to enjoy maybe post-fight, or is it not really your style?
I don't get me wrong, I enjoy it. I quite like people watching and seeing it, taking it all in. You know, the atmosphere of Vegas is crazy. I'm not necessarily a big drinker, gambler, any of that type of stuff. I'm not a sinner, so you know what I mean. I'm going to Sin City to commit some sins, but I am actually going to stay in America for a little bit after this fight, and I won't stay in Vegas too long. I'm going to plan on going up to California and do a little bit up there.
Any particular reason? Just to get some
just
training?
To enjoy it. I think it's just like you go over for these fights. It's so far away. It's like, you know, an 8-hour, 10-hour flight probably to Vegas. So I'm trying to make the most of my time there. And obviously before the fight, I'm not going to be enjoying much of it. I'm going to be locked in and focused. So after the fight, I want to give myself some time to, you know, take it all in.
Yeah. What do you make of your opponent?
I'm excited. It's an interesting matchup. This is somebody who's obviously an elite level freestyle wrestler. Relatively similar experience to me in MMA. He's 9-1. I'm 9-2. Should be 10-1, but I'm 9-2. So similar records. So yeah, I'm very excited, and the stylistic matchup's good because obviously it's sort of grappler v grappler. Although in a lot of his fights he tends to actually opt for the stand-up. So it's going to be interesting to see what fight he tries to bring to us.
Do you prefer fighting other grapplers, or would you prefer to fight a quote-unquote striker where it's more of that to and fro of where the fight's going to take place?
To be honest, it all depends. I've always wanted to fight grapplers because I want to end up having a stand-up war. That's what I want to be in, an exciting fight that the fans are going to love. And I think when you get two grapplers, that tends to happen. But then again, you never know what's going to happen. We might get in there and I might resort to my grappling straight away. He might look to take me down straight away. So you can't really, you don't really know 100% what to expect. But for the most of my career, I've fought against strikers, and the game plan's been going, take them down, take them back. So it's going to be nice to test myself against another grappler in there.
What do you make of his last fight?
Obviously, we've done a lot of film studying, and his last fight's come up quite a bit because that's where a few weaknesses were exposed. So I think we've built a lot on that this camp, and we game plan really well. His last fight wasn't massively impressive. I think you saw areas where he can be exploited. So I'm looking to go in there and exploit them.
Talking about your last fight, that's the first question I want to ask is, what did you learn about your skills after the Kayden Lockman fight?
So, to be honest, my last fight, I was very disappointed with the way I performed. I was disappointed in the result. I feel like I maybe could have edged it, but I'm also very hard on myself, and I don't think that performance was even worthy of a win. I was very passive, and I think a lot of it comes down to not necessarily my skill set, because I think in the exchanges, I showed I was a better fighter. I caused the damage. I put him in worse positions. I had his back for the whole of the second round. I think skill for skill, I showed I was better, but it was sort of the moment, the occasion. I felt a little bit sort of paralysis by analysis in there. I was weighing up my options far too much and didn't pull the trigger soon enough. And I think that was the first and the third round, and that's why he ended up getting the nod. He was just a bit more decisive in that I'm going to go and hold him down and look for the takedown. Whereas I was kind of reacting a bit. So I think, if anything, it showed me that I can compete on the big stage. I've got the skills to be there. I just need to believe in it a little bit more and pull that trigger a bit sooner than 1 minute left in the third round.
You said 10-1 earlier. What did you learn about MMA judging in your last fight, and what you need to maybe do differently going into the next one in future?
I think for any fighter, you've got to be aware that obviously it's subjective. So each judge is a case-by-case scenario. One of the judges in my last fight scored it to me, 2 rounds to 1. The other 2 judges scored it to him, 2 rounds to 1. So obviously it's cliche and don't leave it to the judges, but I think if you can direct as much of the fight in your favour as possible, that's the way to go about it. Obviously these high level matchups, a lot of them are going to decision because you're in there with guys who are hard to finish. Of course. But I ultimately left too little of the fight in my favour. It was too much a time period where he was in control. Even though he wasn't doing a great deal, I wasn't attacking either. So I think that for me now it is chase that finish, but more importantly make sure I'm winning the majority of the rounds, be the one on the front foot, be the one aggressing, and I'm winning all the exchanges. So if it does go to the judges, it's going in your favour.
I have to ask you this question, but your last opponent wasn't re-signed with the UFC despite having a couple of wins under his belt.
Yeah.
We also saw Jordan Vucenic, who another UK fighter with a big following and a lot of popularity, who wasn't re-signed to the UFC after a couple of fights. Are you feeling any extra pressure going into this second UFC fight? And if so, how do you cope with that?
To be honest, initially, after losing my one with Kaelin, there was a little bit of pressure there of like, right, I've got to perform next time. I don't want to be going back-to-back losses in the UFC.
Yeah.
But I've had a good chat with people around me. I've sort of looked within a little bit, and I think that I don't control what happens. I can go and win this fight, and something goes wrong and they cut me. I could lose this fight. The UFC don't cut me. I'm not in control of that decision. I'm in control of how I show up every day, how I prepare for this fight. So I'm not really letting externals like that creep in. I'm looking at it as an MMA fight. I've trained and prepared a game plan specifically for this kid. Whatever happens afterwards doesn't really matter. I'm ready to go in there and perform and show my skills in the cage. I'm not thinking what consequences are going to be based off, the result.
We're up to 4 UFC fighters out of this gym now. Now Shamrock's been signed. What's the vibe like in the gym now? You've got another one in the UFC ranks.
Yeah, unreal. It's literally what we've been saying for years. On all these interviews I've done with yourself and other people who've said, we're going to have loads in the UFC, we're kicking down the door, and now you're seeing it. Shem's been signed. Obviously Luke Riley's right there. We've got all the other lads coming through. Loads of them on Cage Warriors getting big wins the other week. Francis Breen's another one who's going to be there real soon. So it's everything we've been saying in interviews is coming to fruition.
Yes.
All the lads are knocking down the door, and we're all going to be in the UFC pretty soon.
If you were a betting man, who's number 5?
Luke Riley, it's got to be.
It's gotta be Luke.
He's virtually in already, so he's on the cusp. So I would say, Luke's number 5.
Do you think Paddy gets the Ilya fight next?
I really hope so. I think that the UFC would be stupid not to make that fight. I think that obviously there's talk of potentially Ilya and Islam. There's that fight. There's Paddy maybe fighting Justin Gaethje. But I think that why risk? Why do these other fights where things could potentially go wrong when you've got that super fight now between 2 stars that hate each other? You could build the fight up so well. Why risk doing other things first? I think give it the time it needs, build it up, do the big fight between those 2 next.
I agree. Last question from me. Don't want to take up too much of your time. When Dana walks into the media room, hopefully, I know he doesn't attend every single one, but let's say Dana walks into the media room August 2nd and is asked about your fight, what do you want him to be saying?
I want him to be saying that Fletcher's a very exciting, aggressive fighter who comes back, and he's learnt from his last one, and he got on him. He made the whole fight an aggressive dogfight, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go out there and put a pace on this kid, and I know that Dana, real recognise real, he'll see that and he'll know that I belong in the UFC.
Nath, always a pleasure, mate. It's good to see you.
Right, thank you very much for that.